So dear students, now we reached at the end of the nervous system. We talked about various aspects of the nervous system like the divisions, what are the structures which are involved in nervous system, what are the functions of the nervous system, how neurons they connect to each other. Now at the end, we are talking about a comparison of various animal groups for different types of nervous system that they do have. So let's talk about it. So why a nervous system is required? Basically, there is a need of coordination. What happened? That animals do have very simple bodies to complex bodies. Like primates are very complex group of animals which are having so many organs, tissues, systems, and so on. And to coordinate among all these systems so that they can function as a body, this is there's a huge need of coordination. For that coordination, nervous system exists. You see the simpler bodied organisms, as you can see here, a planarian, which is having very simple body, just have a digestive system, nice pot, and a very simple flattened body. It has nervous system which consists of nerve cords, a very simple cerebral ganglia, set of ganglia, and it will just have to connect few tissues and organs to each other. So it have a very simple nervous system consists of cerebral ganglia, nerve cord, and that is enough for the coordination in this simple and small body. So simple animals do have simple nervous system, like many of the invertebrates do have like that. As complexity arise in different organisms, in animals in particular, then there's a more need of coordination. The complex the animal, complex nervous system. Like for example, in a bigger animal, like in a cat or a cow or maybe a goat or something, there are so many uh, systems. There are so many complex organs. Each system consists of so many organs which are connected to each other, which have to connect to each other. And then all of these systems have to connect to each other. And they also have to respond to the environment. So that complexity needs more coordination among the body systems and with the environment in which they are surviving. And they have to live in that environment. So complex the animal, complex the nervous system. Like you can see here, a planarian having a simple nervous system and nervous system of an alligator, CNS basically the brain and brain of a chicken, which is more complex in comparison, and so on. You see, there are various parts of the brain. Here, brain consists of this only set of a few cerebral ganglia. Here, there are so many neurons which are making these different parts and ultimately making a whole organ, the brain. So complexity needs more coordination, simplicity needs less coordination. So simple animals have simple brain or simple nervous system, complex animals do have a complex one, nervous system. Now we talk about different animals and what kind of nervous systems they do have. Like a simple animals, for example, invertebrates, complex animals like vertebrates. There are nerve networks or neuron networks in Cnidaria. There are complex brains in primates. The complexity of the tissues, organs, systems need more coordination. We already talked about it, that lead towards the evolution of complex nervous systems, which have to coordinate many systems together. So let's have a look on simple animals like invertebrates and complex animals like vertebrates, and what are the nerve networks, what are the complex brains, and what's that complexity. So let's talk about it. Here you can see a cnidarian hydra. You can see here it is having a neuron network, the nerve network. There are different ganglia in the body at various places. You can see them as dots which are connected to each other by nerves. So there's a nerve network, a neuron network present inside the body of the hydra. The sensory cells are there in their tentacles. So quite simple system. Then in Annelida, which are slightly more advanced group, sorry, Platyhelminthes first. We should talk about Platyhelminthes first because this is next group to the Cnidaria. They are having a set of cerebral ganglia, nerve cords, and then connected nerves to them. Then you see Annelida, they are having a more complex brain, we can say, in comparison to Planaria and the Cnidaria, which are not having a brain. They have a circle of cerebral ganglia. We can also say sometimes that the first brain, actually which could be called a brain, appears in Annelida. They have a set of cerebral ganglia which are making a brain-like structure. So then there is a ventral nerve cord which is going down there. You can see many ganglia which have connecting nerves which are rising from them and which are connecting the whole of the body. Then you can see in arthropoda, they are also having cerebral ganglion. They are having different connectives. Then they are having this thoracic ganglion and so on. So they are having a different kind of nervous system in comparison to the previous ones, because they are having these many legs and they have to connect all of these together too. So there are different types of there are different types of ganglia which are connected to nerves according to the body. Then we can see another one in mollusca. This is a squid which is having giant nerve fibers. These nerve fibers were one of the first ones to study because their size is very large. They are also having a brain-like structure, eye spots, arms which are having nerves inside, which can help them, tentacles and nerves in the tentacles and the arms, which are helping the nervous system in recording the information from the environment. So there is more sensory information collected. Then we can also see that in Echinodermata there is another kind of system which which consists of mainly different types of nerves. Though a central ganglionic system is absent in Echinodermata, this is slightly surprising, as Echinodermata is considered to be more advanced than all these organisms. But here we can see in Mollusca, Arthropoda, and in Annelida that they are having brain, but Echinodermata does not have a brain, which we should say. I mean, there is no central set of ganglia which we can call a brain or like that. So they are not having, which is quite a surprising incident. Now have a look on the brain, the main parts. So what happens? We already talked about it, that there is a central nervous system, there is a peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system consists of mainly brain and spinal cord, and peripheral nervous system consists of the nerves, the sensory and motor systems basically. So we are not repeating that, we are just talking about the divisions of the brain. So brain has three main divisions: forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. Forebrain consists of two parts: telencephalon and extended part, then the diencephalon, which is elongated part. Midbrain is also called sometimes mesencephalon, the central one. Then the hindbrain, also called rhombencephalon. It's more thinner and connected ultimately at the end to the spinal cord. Now, telencephalon have its main components, which are cerebrum, olfactory lobe, limbic system, corpus striatum. Most of these parts are somehow related to uh, the function of speech, memory, intelligence, and so on. So in those organisms in which this part is more developed, are actually more developed organisms, animals. In diencephalon, there is thalamus, hypothalamus, pituitary gland, and pineal gland. These are the essential, we should say there are certain essential parts of the brain which are developed in almost all groups, quite a lot. These are those. Then midbrain, optic tectum is there. Of course, this is quite comparative. And it is different in different types of organisms. Then rhombencephalon have pons and cerebellum and medulla oblongata. These are also just we can say um, more similar in different groups. Let's have a look on a comparative account of different brains in vertebrates too. A frog. Here you can see cerebrum, not very well developed, but olfactory lobe is quite developed. Then you can see the optic lobe up there. Cerebellum is small and medulla is thicker. Then if we go down there, we can see cerebrum is slightly large. Then if we go up to the chicken, cerebrum is more larger, not convoluted. If we see cat, which is a mammal, cerebrum is highly convoluted. This is the area which actually have memory, intelligence, and so on and so on. So this is a development in these higher animals. Then optic lobe, as you can see, is there. Its location is changed, but it's there on its place as it is required. And olfactory lobes are developing in various ways. Mostly slightly, I must say, different in different organisms depending upon their requirements. Then cerebellum, more simple to complex to more complex. Same for the other parts. So we can see that there is a from simplicity to complexity when the group and its body systems become complex. Just like that, the different parts of the brain also become complex. Like for more intelligence, more speech, memory, uh, this cerebrum part is more important. That's why they are having more and more complex. Just depending upon their olfactory lobe, as we know that is related to sense of smell. It is also developing more and more, and the development is associated with the functionality which is required. Same goes for optic lobe, cerebellum, that is more related to balance and associated senses. This is also developed in this. So from simplicity to complexity, this is basically uh, we can say clear from this diagram of different brains in different organisms. If we compare them somehow with the simple nerve networks, let's go back to the invertebrates. Here we can see is just a connection of neurons. Here we can see the ganglia also appear, which are, of course, if they are there in cerebral region, it means that these are basically for some kind of coordinating activity. That's why we think that these are acting as a brain. Then there are more ganglia here. As we can see that there are segments in the body, and segments are having ganglia. Here we can see that there is another kind of system which is not having segments. So there is a nerve core, and there is a central. We cannot say it proper brain, but it's a set of ganglia. Then here we can see that this many small number of nerves which are required here are present, but the brain is just a few ganglia. What is a brain? It consists of a few ganglia together, which are enough for the needs of coordination here, because the body is simple and it's having simpler systems. But if we look at a cat, look at the chicken, alligator, frog, they have to perform different types of functions. Like for example, catching a fly, predation, that frogs even do. That needs a lot of coordination. That is, of course, finding a prey, looking at it, following it, going behind it, then definitely checking out for it to settle down somewhere, and then attacking it, and then digestion, absorption, and excretion, and different types of processes. So when all of these processes has to be coordinated, they need a complex brain. So complexity rises in this. The complexity is need, and for that, nervous system of different types is present in different types of animals. And we close this chapter here. Any questions that you have, you can post these to the groups in the blogs. Thank you.